Welcome everyone as we learn the special segment called For the Shabbos Table, made possible by a grant by the Rubin family. They ask us to have in mind that they should be zeichet to a ben zachar, to a healthy male child, and of course they should have atzlacha in ruchnius and gashmis. We also learn for shalema for Moshe ben Esther Fradel, should have refuah shalema b'seich sharcha Yisro. In the Ten Commandments, so we know that it says, Zachar es yom ha-Shabbos l'kadshay. You should remember the Shabbos day to sanctify it. The Al-Shich HaKadosh has an interesting comment. He says that one of the messages of Shabbos is that we see, when we have Shabbos after Shabbos, especially the women, that according to the work that we put into the Shabbos, so is the pleasure and the rewards of the Shabbos. Like it says, Mi shetorach be'erev Shabbos, yochel b'Shabbos. One who puts the trouble in on Erev Shabbos will enjoy the Shabbos. And Shabbos is me'ein olam haba. The Al-Shich says that this is to teach us and to make us realize that it's the same way with the afterlife. And that is, people who put in the time in this world now, as we said, this world is a hallway, a corridor, so people that put in the effort in this world will enjoy a great Olam Haba. As it says, Hayoim la'asoisam, today is to do, umachar likabel scharam, and the next world is to get the reward. People that are busy in this world with rewards are missing out. This world is the meisim are chofshim min hamitzvos. The dead can't earn it anymore, right? That's why yafashah achas ba'olam hazeh mikol chaye olam haba. This is the world of opportunity, and just like your Shabbos is determined by how you prepare for it, so too the next world is determined by how we prepare for it. That's why it's so valuable. What we do, we learn, because this is the greatest preparation for the next world. Ashrei mi sheba lekan v'talmud yodai biyadai. Fortunate is he who comes to the next world with his Gemara in his hand. That's the best passport. That's the best preparation for the next world. Now, the Al-Shich then goes on to say, it's a wondrous Al-Shich, the Al-Shich then goes on to say that that's why Kibbut of Aim is placed right next to Shabbos. Because he said, if this world is only this world, then a person could say, why should I be grateful to my parents? I was a neshama by the Kisei HaKavod, and they brought me down to this place, this hedonistic place of materialism, this morass of hedonism. Why should I be grateful to my parents? But now that this world is the way to prepare for the afterlife, and even though we were above before, but now, as the Mefarshim tell us, we could get to the afterlife feeling that we earned it. It's not namo de kisufa. It's not bread of shame. And our parents gave us this opportunity, and therefore we honor our parents. Now, we know, it says, Kabed es avicha v'esimecha, leman yarichun yamecha, which, of course, it's a great reward, longevity, and leman yitav lach in the next world, ba'olam shekulei toiv, ba'olam shekulei arach. The question that screams out, of course, is we know we're supposed to serve Hashem, shelo al manas l'kabel pras, not with thought of recompense. You know, it's if Hashem gives us already so much, then we don't ask Him for a tip. So we're supposed to serve Hashem. Now, how come the Torah is offering us such a big lollipop over here? And Rashi tells us that the Torah is nidreshes Michlal hein ata shemeh lav. From the positive, we infer the negative. And therefore, it's telling us, without being too sinister, too expressly sinister, that if you don't honor your parents, you won't live long. That's what Rashi says. Now, why is that? Why, if a person doesn't honor his parents, he won't live long? So it's interesting that the Rabbeinu Bachai says that if a son or a daughter looks forward to their parents' demise, either because their parents are too much of a burden, or because their parents are rich and they want to inherit them, so says Rabbeinu Bachai, Mida Keneged Mida, the children will die young. And that's the meaning of Kabed Esavicha Vesimecha. You wish them bad, the bad will happen to you. You wish them good, Kabed Esavicha Vesimecha, that's Laman Yarich Yamecha. But the other way, Yikatzrin Chayav, as the simple, that's the way Rabbeinu Bachai learns. The famous pshat of Laman Yarich Yamecha is, as the Ksav Sofer says, that a person might fret and say, you know, my parents, I have to take care of them. Many families have a parent living by them. And, you know, I remember when my first Rebbetzin and I were a young couple with many children. We had, I think, 4 children. And we had my shver, my first shver, Mr. Gelbtuch, Alav HaShalom, Zechet Tzadik Livracha, Schusi Yagan Aleinu, living with us. And my first Rebbetzin had to stay home. She couldn't leave her father. And someone could think that, you know, it takes away from life. So Hashem says, don't worry. If it inconveniences you and takes away from your ability to enjoy life, I'll give it back. Laman Yarichon Yomecha. This is reminiscent of what Rameya Shapiro told the Bachim. In the Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin, Rameya Shapiro used to daven a very long time. And you know, Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin was the think tank of Torah, Sirius Masmidim. And they said, Rebbe, that's so much time you're missing out on learning. So he said, the Chassam Sofer says that there are 3 things that promise Arichas Yomim. And one of them is Iyun Tefillah. One of them is thinking about your davening slow. He says, yeah, I'm spending time on my davening. I'm missing out time in learning. I'll get it back because it's Arichas Yomim. That's the famous Chassam Sofer, it's famous Rameya Shapiro. Now, it says, Veshnei Vaneha, Moshe Rabbeinu had 2 children with Tzipora, Asher Shemo Echad Gershom. One of them was Gershom, Ki Ger HaYisi Be'eretz Nachriya, because I was a ger, a stranger, in a strange land in Midian, away from all of my people. V'Shema Echad Eliezer, Ki Elikei Avi Be'ezri, the God of my father was in my stead, Vayatzileni Mecherev Paro, because we know Dasan and Aviram slandered Moshe Rabbeinu, that he killed the Mitzri, and Paro arrested Moshe and condemned him in front of a court to death. And the sword of the executioner was already coming down on Moshe Rabbeinu's neck. And a miracle happened and his neck turned to marble. And otherwise we wouldn't have had a Moshe Rabbeinu. And then he jumped up and he ran, and the guards became mute and deaf and dumb, and they blind. So he called his second son Eliezer that Elikei Avi Be'ezri, the God of my father, giving the credit to his righteous father Amram, Elikei Avi Be'ezri, V'yatzileni mecherev Paro, and save me from Paro's sword. So the obvious question is that the name's l'chara out of order, because he was saved from Paro's sword when he was 20, and only afterwards did he flee to Midian, and he was a stranger in a strange land. So the first child should have been Eliezer, and the second child should have been Gershom. It's a very, very obvious question. So one answer that the Tosfos Shalom and the Chizkuni gives is that Moshe Rabbeinu was never really safe from Paro's sword until he was told by Hashem later, Ki meisu kol ha'anoshim ha'mevakshim es nafshecha, that the slanderers, the witnesses against you, they lost credibility. Dasan Aviram became impoverished. That's what it means, Ki meisu kol ha'anoshim. They became impoverished. They became homeless people. They aren't credible anymore. And finally then, he was finally saved from the sword of Paro. Until then, he didn't feel safe. He still felt he was a wanted man. So first is Gershom, I was a ger in Midian. And then finally, when I heard from Hashem that Kimeisu kol ha'anoshim ha'mevakshim es nafshecha, then finally I could thank Hashem Elikei Avi Be'ezri. That's one answer, which really answers the problem. The question, though, more is, what did he mean by giving his child the name Gershom? Well, the Medrash says that normally a ger, is treated and shunned. He's a stranger. He's treated not one of their own. But he said, I found a good host, a good achsanya. I lived very comfortably by Yisro. And I got a beautiful wife, Tzipora. And then we had a child, so I ceased being a stranger. Because when you have a child, then you're already, a citizen. Right? So, Kiger ha'yisi, I was a ger. So you're thanking Hashem. However, the Chavetz Chaim says that he called the name Gershom never to get comfortable in Midian. Like it says when the Jews were in Egypt, Leibo Yaakov Avinu lishtakeya b'Mitzrayim, to submerge himself in Mitzrayim, Elulager Sham, only to tarry there. So also Moshe Rabbeinu never wanted to feel that he was a Midianite. He wanted to return back to his family. He wanted to return back to his people. And therefore, even though Eliezer was Ohidah to Hashem, but it was more important first for him to remember, I'm not one of these people. Yisro did not yet become a ger. He was a kohen Ein. He was a priest of Ein. These aren't my people. That was an important reminder that he had to remember, that he shouldn't assimilate, that his family shouldn't assimilate. Ata, Shemaya Tishma B'Koili, if you hearken to my voice, then v'yisem li segula mikol ha'amim, then you will be a treasure from all the nations, ki li kol haaretz, because it is mine, the whole land. Now, the Rambam, the Rabbeinu Bechai, the Rekanti, they all say that when Hashem said you'll be a skula mikol ha'amim, it means that all the other nations, I put a sar, a guardian angel, in control of them. But you're in my control. You're under my hand. B'ni b'chayri Yisrael. That's the meaning of Yisam li segula. You're a treasure. It's interesting, the Baruch Chaim HaKadosh says that the Yisam li segula mikol ha'amim means that you're different. The rules are different. Like a guy Shabbos is chayav misa. A guy that keeps Shabbos is chayav misa. But if Shabbos is so good, so why should it be bad for a guy? The din is that if a yid plans to do a mitzvah and he can't do it, it snows, he gets schar like he did the mitzvah. On the other hand, if he thinks he's going to do Aveira, he doesn't do it, he doesn't get an Aveira. And the reverse is true by a guy. Chaim HaKadosh says, why? If it's a good thing, so why isn't it good for a guy too? And he says, because the Koyach HaKedusha comes only from a yid. That's the meaning of Segula Mikol Am. We're a treasure. We're special. The Keles Yitzchak, the Keles Yitzchak gives an explanation. I'm very happy that I was mechaven to this idea. He beautifully inserts it in this pasuk. You see, Skula means a treasure. The Gemara tells us in Brachas, on Daf Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, that Ein La Kadosh Baruch Hu Bebeis Genazov Ela Oitzer Shel Yirah Shamayim Bilvad. That Hashem has in the Fort Knox in heaven a treasure of Yirah Shamayim. And what does that mean? You see, there's another Gemara. The Gemara says, Hakol bidei Shamayim chutz miyirah Shamayim. Everything is preordained except for our choice to fear God. Our choice, whether to look at what we're not supposed to or not, that's up to us. Our choice, whether to be honest about a deal when nobody knows except us, is up to us. Our choice to be tzniastic even in the bathroom when nobody sees it is up to us. Since that's up to us, that's what's so precious to Hashem. Everything else, Hashem does. What's precious to Him is what we do. That's the meaning of Ein La Kadosh Baruch Hu B'Beis Genazav El Oitzer Shel Yirah Shamayim Bilvad. Because that He doesn't do, that's what we do. And that's the pshat in this pasuk, says the Keles Yitzchak. V'yisem li segula mikol ha'amim v'hatim shemaya tishma b'kaili. If you listen to my voice and you're Yirah Shamayim, then v'yisem li segula mikol ha'amim, then that's my treasure. Everything else, ki li kol ha'aretz, everything else is mine. But this is something that you supply. That's a treasure to me. I'm going to share with you something that I think is very exciting. Before that I do, I want to remind you that the Daf Yomi in the next 2 weeks, which is going to be at 9 o'clock, I don't have any sponsors yet for my shiurim that I'll give in Florida. I'll give, of course, the Chumash shiur in Florida. If you want to sponsor that share, also available is a share that I'll be giving Thursday night, a week from this Thursday, in the main shul, probably in the main shul of the Young Israel of Deerfield. If somebody wants to sponsor that share, and so 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. If anybody wants to book a share for me in Florida, the 2 Shabbos of Mishpatim and Yisro are still open. So if anybody is interested, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. It's the very first time I'm going down to Florida without even one scholar in residence scheduled. It's a little bit strange, but it's whatever will be the will of Hashem. The Tuvcha Yabiu brings down a fascinating discussion with Rav Steinman. They asked Rav Steinman, the Torah, it says about the Torah that it's Nechamodim mizav mipozrav. It's desirous more than gold, and the very finest gold. Umesukim midvash, and it's sweeter than honey. V'noifis sufim, and the most delicious honeycombs. So they asked Rav Steinman, you know, there are a lot of Bachrim that spend a lot of time learning, but they're not enjoying themselves. They're looking at the clock. They keep on going out for a coffee. They're straining. Ay, what a hard Gemara. What a hard sugya. He said, many people, they come to a shir and they're looking at the clock. They're doing what's right, but they don't feel that they're having a Milky Way. They didn't ask that to Rabbi Steinman. They don't feel like they're having, a ice cream sandwich. They feel it's a masa. It's a burden. Why don't they feel this mesukim midvash v'noifet sufim? It's a good kasha. Good kasha. It's very interesting, the answer that Rav Steinman gave. Rav Steinman said there's something that they could do to change it. Every morning they say Birchas HaTorah, but when they say Birchas HaTorah in the morning, it's the beginning of the morning, they're still sleepy. But in Birchas HaTorah we say, V'harev noah Hashem Elokeinu as divrei Yisro b'finu. Hashem, Harev means Arevus. Make the Torah sweet in our mouths. He says if people would put more kavanah into that, he says they'd enjoy the Torah more. That's what Rav Steinman said. Very interesting answer from Rav Steinman. Now, I want to add, of course, we listen to the words of the Gadol Adar, but I want to add some ideas. This is a very important question. There are many people that, question, am I really getting out of it? It seems to be that for me, it's breaking my teeth. I mean, we have to know that many good things the Yetzer Hara tries to stop us. It's important to be nice to your spouse. Very important. But the Yetzer Hara gets us not to be nice. Sometimes to be downright nasty, sometimes to raise our voice, sometimes to shout. It's very successful, the Yetzer Hara. It gets us to do things that sensibly we know are not sensible. While the Yetzer Hara gets us to mess up in kibbud avim, and in decorum in shul, and in lashon hara, the one area that the Yetzer Hara has his periscope on more than any other area and tries to frustrate us is learning Torah. Why? Because the Gemara in Kedushin. Barasi Yetzer Hara, I created the Yetzer Hara, who was menacing, and Barasi Torah Tavnula, and I created the antidote Torah. So if the Yetzer Hara is going to stop us from anything, he's going to stop us in the area of Torah. So how does he stop us? By trying to get us not to enjoy it. By trying to make us feel that it's a burden. By trying to tell us, it's a lot more fun to watch a movie. By trying to distract us with the myriads of distractions that we have in 2025. And therefore, besides what the great Rav Steinman recommends to have in mind in Vaharevna, I think that there's another place that we could have in mind in our davening. And that's when we say Birchas HaShachar in the Yiratzon after Amar V'Shena, we say V'al Yishlot Banu Yetzirah. Let not the Yetzirah dominate us. And have this in mind, the Yetzirah is trying to take away from me the Geschmackkeit of learning. Don't let him succeed. There's something more. If you look at the 6th parak of Pirkei Avos, that's called Parak Kinyan HaTorah, parak of acquiring the Torah. There Rav Meir says, Kol aloymei Torah lishma zoicha ledvarim harba. Whoever learns Torah lishma will benefit many things. So over there it highlights Torah lishma. Torah lishma. Not stamazai learning. When we learn Torah lishma, we make the adjustment and we say, you know what? I'm being the mekayim, the mitzvah, v'dibarta bam. Speak about them. Lasais nachas ruach. It upgrades our learning. Then there's something else. If you remember, I told you, we mentioned it in the main shir this week, that the backdrop of Har Sinai was darkness, smoke, thunder, no light, no rainbows, even though Torahs are. So Taisa Rosh says it's because we would sin afterwards with the Egel Azav, with the golden calf. If we want to have the geschmack of Torah, it has to be haloim and almanas lasais. A person can't learn Torah and then go and cheat in business. Can't learn Torah and then look at naked a woman. Can't learn Torah and yell at a wife. It's not going to be geschmack. You're not giving the, we ask Hashem before Kriya Shema, let our eyes be enlightened, illuminated. Let them have a gleam. We ask for this. We have to have kavanah in this. I want to finish off. Before I do, I want to again thank the Rubin family for sponsoring this year. And to again ask for sponsors. 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. It says, Vayered Moshe min ha'har el ha'am. Moshe went down from the mountain to the people. There are many gifted people who have a dilemma. Do I go out and give shiurim and teach? Or do I stay and I learn and make myself bigger? If I'm going to teach, I'm not going to be able to learn Yerushalmi. If I'm going to teach, when am I going to learn Be'iyun? So the Chavetz Chaim was asked this question. And the Chavetz Chaim already 3/4 of a century ago said, in a world that's so gone mad, if you're able to influence the many, you have to close the Gemara and influence the many. That was a relatively tame world compared to the world that we have now. The world we have now, our brothers and our sisters, our sons and our daughters are exposed to things that were unimaginable. Could we believe that a president of the United States would have to make a major statement in his inaugural address that there's only two types of people, a man and a woman? Would we think that that's needed to be said in an inaugural address? Lincoln saying he wants to free the slaves, yes. But that there's two types of people, a man and a woman, you have to say that? In a world that's gone mad, a person has a chance to influence others, they have to do that. Can't leave the shir without making a mention. We just finished Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat is all about renewal. There's a tree outside in your yard, it looks dead. It looks dry. It looks brittle. But on Tu B'Shvat, it gets its sap, and before long it's going to be again moist and vigorous, green and vibrant. Now it says, Ki Odom Eitz HaSodeh. Man is a tree of the field. So it says, Odom Eitz HaSodeh. The message of renewal and hope is true for Jews, humans as well, especially Jews. Klal Yisrael's Daimon Levana. May we be zeichet to renew ourselves. We thank you for joining us and wish you a wonderful Shabbos.